At the beginning of the movie, we move to Los Angeles. In a rather untidy apartment sits a young couple. Kissing, they move into the bedroom. Peter Coleman likes that the heroine has a lot of books and promises that tomorrow he will send her his 23 stories. And so, 20 years later, the guy wakes up in his bed and talks to Debbie Dunn, who wishes him a happy birthday. The heroine has to do it over the phone since she still lives in Los Angeles, and Peter has moved to New York and lives there with his girlfriend. During the morning routine, Debbie keeps chatting with Peter and says she is very nervous. The heroine is going to go to New York for a while, but is worried about her son Jack. The guy asks her to calm down, as the boy is already quite independent. Peter thinks the heroine is acting as a food wrap, wrapping her son up and not letting him breathe. The very clean-cut guy is surprised to hear that Debbie, who lives in chaos, has recently sorted out her closets. The heroine shows Peter a souvenir that was left over from their first night. Debbie admits she even thought about them getting married. However, the morning Peter ran away, saying that he was inscrutable and not suitable for a relationship. It was after this that the heroes decided to become just friends, and 20 years have passed since then. When Peter finishes chatting with the heroine, his girlfriend shows up in the kitchen. Becca finds it strange that the guy has been chatting with Debbie for so long. On the street, the girl quarrels with Peter, believing that for 6 months of relationship, they never became closer. Becca realizes that she is just wasting her time, and therefore breaks up with the guy. While Peter walks to work, the heroine takes her son to school. Because of his mother and her tutelage, Jack feels very awkward. The heroine meets her friend Alicia and goes to work with her. Debbie tells that in fact, her trip to New York is not really a vacation, but a professional development. The heroine will soon run out of insurance, and then will have to pay for Jack's medications for $1,000 a month. Alicia advises her friend to find a man in a new city and freshen up her hair and style. The woman believes that friends are needed precisely to give each other constructive criticism. Back home, Debbie talks to Scarlett, who will have to look after her son. The woman sympathizes when she learns that the heroine works with numbers, although she loves books very much. Meanwhile, Peter refuses a promotion at work since he wanted to stay there for only 6 months and then look for a new place. At home, the guy opens a gift from the board of directors and congratulates himself on his birthday. In the evening, the heroine unexpectedly learns that Scarlett will not be able to be with her baby during her trip. Debbie is upset, as the course she wanted to take is only held once a year. Upon learning of the situation, Peter offers to fly to Los Angeles to look after Jack. The heroine tries to talk him out of it, as the boy is allergic to a lot of things and also has trouble socializing. Peter reminds her that Debbie has come to his rescue many times in times of need, and he wants to thank her. The next day, Debbie packs up and leaves. Peter arrives and hugs Alicia and picks up Jack in his Porsche. The guy notices that the boy does not socialize with his peers and asks what caused this. To support Jack, Peter tells him that at the age of 13, he was the object of ridicule, and his father left the family. The boy admits that he used to be friends with Wade and used to skate with him. However, now he has been recruited for the hockey team, and Jack is left out, as Debbie thinks he is too young for hockey. Peter brings the boy home and meets Zen. It's Debbie's rich neighbor with his quirks. The man tends the heroine's garden, while his garden is tended by the gardener he hired. In the house, Peter sees many post-it notes with reminders from Debbie. The heroine herself calls at the same moment, and tells him that Jack needs to be fed before school, to avoid allergens, and to give the necessary medication. Peter asks her to calm down and enjoy the big city. Afterward, the guy suggests Jack order Mexican food instead of a casserole. Peter learns that the boy is only allowed to watch TV after doing his homework. The guy sympathizes with Jack and offers to break the rule while Debbie is away. Meanwhile, the heroine herself reaches Peter's dwelling. Debbie likes the view from the windows, but excessive neatness and cleanliness irritate her. The heroine meets Minka, who used to date Peter. The girl likes Debbie and invites her to go out for a drink sometime. In the evening, the heroine communicates with Peter and says that it's as if all the things were thrown out of his apartment. The guy laughs, replying that they were moved to Debbie's place. Peter is also amazed that the heroine forgot to tell him about Zen. Jack finishes the horror movie and thanks the guy for the evening. Peter sees notes from the heroine and in the bathroom, which starts to amuse him. Debbie, on the other hand, sees that the guy has left drinks for her in advance so she can celebrate her graduation. A new day arrives. In the morning, Peter tries to check the allergy list and make breakfast, but eventually gives up and takes the boy to a restaurant. The The boy suggests Jack bribe Wade by offering him a seat at the match in the VIP box. Meanwhile, Debbie attends her first class. The heroine is listening to a literature lesson when she is called by Minka. In the evening, Peter goes with Jack to the match. However, his plan fails, as Wade only socializes with his friend. Meanwhile, the heroine relaxes with Minka in an elite bar. Debbie unexpectedly notices Theo Martin, a famous editor, who is talking to a literature teacher from her college. Minka decides to take matters into her own hands and approaches the men. The heroine manages to interest Theo, and they exchange numbers. At home, Debbie unexpectedly learns that Peter wrote an entire book, but did not even tell her about it. The guy, meanwhile, brings a distraught Jack home. Lying in the bathtub after a hard day, the heroine calls Peter and asks him to tell her the whole truth. The guy admits to taking Jack to restaurants and to the match, but says nothing about the book. Debbie nevertheless starts reading Peter's book and literally cannot tear herself away from it. In the evening, the heroine invites Theo to a bar and asks him to read the manuscript. Debbie tells him that she herself has a profession as an editor, and she was very moved by the story of a boy who is allergic to himself because she has a son. Theo reveals that he is also raising a son, but is divorced. The man promises to read the manuscript as soon as possible and decide whether it can be published. As Theo leaves, Minka asks when the heroine will tell Peter everything. Meanwhile, the guy takes Jack to school and lets him join the hockey team to make friends with the other kids. During class, Debbie's phone rings, and she learns that she needs to go to Theo's office right away. A man informs her that he has read the manuscript and is ready to publish it. Theo suggests dinner to discuss the details. Peter helps Jack join the hockey team and sees that he has real talent. Debbie tries to study for her upcoming exam, but is distracted by Minka suggesting she pick out a dress to wear to meet Theo. Peter talks to Zen and learns that he has some plans for the heroine. In the evening, Debbie goes to dinner with Theo and discusses not only the manuscript, but her favorite books in general. After the walk, the heroine goes up with a man to Peter's apartment. Debbie admires the view from the window, after which she kisses Theo. At this time, Peter is grudgingly watching Zen through the window. Soon he receives a notification on his phone from a home camera. On it, Peter sees the heroine spending time with a man. The guy asks Alicia to look after Jack because he needs to urgently do one very important thing. Peter talks in a bar with Vanessa, but soon returns home. The guy tells that he has been in love with Debbie for a long time and wanted to confess it to her. But that very day she told about her pregnancy from her husband. That's why Peter left Los Angeles, although he lied to everyone that the reason, fear of earthquakes. Alicia asks the guy to stop thinking he's not right for a relationship and finally have an honest talk with Debbie. The heroine wakes up in the morning and suddenly realizes that she is late for an exam. Leaving Theo in bed, Debbie hurries to college. Meanwhile, Peter prepares breakfast and takes Jack to school for practice. Debbie is nervous because she can't get through to Peter. The heroine decides to do a little decorating at his place when Theo suggests she meet at the bar. While packing, Debbie and Minka find another strange package. In it, they discover postcards of the heroine and her photos. Minka guesses that the guy is in love with Debbie. The heroine tells that the feelings are mutual, but she is not ready to risk the friendship. Minka asks her to think carefully about it and not to miss the chance to be happy. Debbie arrives for a meeting and learns that Theo has set her up in a good place as an editor and has also been thinking about their future. Meanwhile, Peter watches Jack play, worrying about him as if he were his own son. Suddenly, the boy falls and hits his head. Meanwhile, Debbie explains to Theo that she loves someone else. At that moment, the heroine receives a phone call. Picking up the phone, Debbie learns that her son has been hospitalized. Standing in the hall, Peter asks the heroine not to be nervous. The doctor informs that everything has turned out all right, but Jack better stay in the hospital until morning. The heroine is very angry with Peter and asks to give the phone to her son. Jack declares that this week was the best week of his life. The boy no longer wants to be afraid of everything and live as a recluse. Talking to Peter, the heroine says she doesn't want to see him anymore. Debbie runs into a guy at the airport and has a quarrel with him. The heroine is angry about lying about her son and a bunch of problems with him. And Peter is angry about the book publication and the situation with Theo in his apartment. Debbie is about to leave but finds a memorabilia from their first night out. The heroine quarrels with Peter and asks why they missed a whole 20 years, although they loved each other. The guy kisses Debbie and they fly home together. After 6 months, Peter publishes a book and moves in with the heroine, who has become an editor. Jack continues to train and obtains a loving family. This is the end of the movie. Thank you all for watching this video to the end. Give this video a like. Write in the comments what you think about this movie, and see you in new videos.